you're my go-to guy forever. You're my go-to guy forever. And that makes me feel good.
Doesn't it?
It makes me feel
Yeah.
so good that I am providing a service to these clients. And yes, I can just like close the deal and move on. But I see these people. I made an effort to say, I am here in this community where your bank is not. I don't say that directly, but
Right.
your bank's done at 5 o'clock and on a Friday and on a federal holiday, they're done. They don't care.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna get a check. But me, my hand is on the pulse of this community, and people know that. And it is just, man, I could talk about the deals that I've closed all day, but man, like those are the most recent ones that I've done, and it just feels so good to
So
help these people.
Isn't it rewarding? Yeah, I always tell people, I mean, there's no better feeling than knowing that you're helping somebody and helping them achieve their goals. You know, the money's great, right? That's
Yeah.
get it, but you know that you're helping somebody is just priceless. There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. You know, people always say, Kris, how can I be a successful broker? It's 2 words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Entrepreneurs in Finance, where we explore the daily lives of graduates, employees, and everybody else underneath the sun in our ecosystem here. So thanks for tuning in again. In this season, we're proud to present our 2nd episode. We're getting underway here. And before I do that, let me just remind everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can see weekly content that comes out from our group, highlighting things such as this and more. Also, if you want to download our app from your Android or iPhone, just type in Commercial Capital Training Group and download it, where you can get the weekly updates of content as well, should that be easier for you. And I will mention, too, don't forget about our conference coming up, NACLB 2023. It'll be in September in Las Vegas, and we have George Foreman, who's going to be our headline keynote speaker this year. So without further ado, I want to present Evan Arancibia from Alta Commercial Capital. Hey, Evan.
Hey, how's it going? You got that perfectly, man.
It's going good. Yeah, well, I should with the last name like mine too, right? So
Yeah.
I have no excuses, but no, good. Thanks for agreeing to come on here. You know, we highly appreciate it. And you know, you wouldn't be on here if you weren't doing good. So
Yeah.
you know, essentially, no, it's great. So tell me, just so I could get this out of the way, you came through
Sure.
June of 2022, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. June of 2022. It's been
All right.
9 months.
And did you attend in person?
No, I did virtually.
Virtual. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
But I wish I did in person after it was over. I'm like, I should have gone up there.
Should have gone in person. All right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you, so this will be good. Kind of navigating how that virtual class was for you, but where are you from?
Yeah. So I'm an immigrant, actually. So I was originally born in South America, in Chile. So I was born in Chile. I'm 34 years old. And when I was 5 years old, my family immigrated to Utah, where I'm at right now. So I grew up in Utah my whole life, but I am an immigrant and came out here for a better life and been here ever since.
I love that story. All right. Yeah, I love that story. Hell of a lot different in South America. I'd say Utah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I was in a very dry Antofagasta, which is the driest desert in the world. And so that's kind of where I live, pretty dry area.
Wow. Okay. All right. I always ask everybody, what led you to CCTG? You know, what were you doing prior, and how did you stumble across us?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was totally by accident, but I think also the marketing that you guys had led it to be for me to actually look into it. So kind of what led me to here in 2019, I actually owned a company. I was self-employed. I had a little bit of a credit card stacking unsecured loan company that I did out here in Utah. Work with the coaches that sold real estate packages, and I didn't really enjoy doing that. I didn't like where I was, and so I had some family members that were financial advisors for Edward Jones, and they said, "Hey, you should come do asset management with us." And I said, "Okay, sure, it sounds good." So in 2019, I closed my shop and I applied, and I got hired immediately. Went to training, got my Series 7, 66 licenses, and it was awesome. But it was right during COVID, and I couldn't go out there and build a practice. They didn't allow me to go door knock. I just had to do things, and the industry's super regulated, and so there's not too much I can do. So long story short, though, I was in the industry for a couple of years, and then I realized that I didn't enjoy asset management. I just, it's not something that I really enjoyed. I didn't really get this high. I felt good every single day that I was, it didn't invigorate me. And so my wife and I were talking for months. I was like, man, I'm not really enjoying this. I want to do something different. She's like, well, you're a business owner. I mean, you're an entrepreneur at heart. Why don't you like look around and see if you can find something? And so I was on YouTube, and at the same time I was looking into doing a State Farm agency. I really wanted to do State Farm. I liked the idea of handshaking, belly to belly, going out there in the community and doing something good, and which is what attracted me to financial advising. And so I was looking into State Farm. I actually got pretty far. I just needed to submit a business plan, which I think I would have been accepted. I was already interviewing with different districts to see where I was going to be putting my business in, but it didn't feel all the way right. It felt good, but it didn't feel right. And so my wife said, hey, why don't you just go to YouTube and like get some business ideas and see if you can find something. And so I was on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I could do a vending machine business. Maybe I can open up a laundromat. And then one of the YouTube videos was this guy that's like, hey, you can do an acquisition with a laundromat and go to bizbuysell.com. And I was like, oh, cool. And you probably know where this is going. So I went to bizbuysell.com, and I was like, okay, oh, this is a whole other market I've never seen before. And I was like, this is cool. I can buy pretty much any business or start a company. And this is a really great way to do that. And so it didn't take very long for me I think I was on there for a couple hours, and I saw something about commercial finance training. And I was like, whoa, it's like, wait a minute, that caught my attention. I've done finance before. I actually did commercial loans a little bit while I was doing my other company. And so it immediately caught my attention. And there was about 2 or 3 commercial finance training companies, and yours is the one that stood out to me. And so I read it, and I'll never forget that I couldn't sleep that night. I read everything on there, and I have a very, I guess, addictive to education type of personality. Maybe you could call it ADHD. And so when I learn something, I have to really learn everything about whatever that person is presenting to me. And so I went on the YouTube channel, and I saw everything, all the students, this podcast. I listened to everything, and I was like, this is what I need to do. And so I immediately at that point realized that I needed to get into this industry, and it was like a calling, like I have to do this. And that's kind of what led me to CCTG. It was totally by accident, and I found you guys. I'm so grateful that I did.
That's a great story. Yeah, I know we do advertise on that platform, but it's funny how you kind of made it to that platform. And then
By accident.
So, I guess you decided to pull the trigger. You decided to attend virtual, right?
Yes, sir.
What was that experience? What was that experience like when, Monday the computer turned on and you saw us? I mean, how did the virtual aspect of what we do, did it, were you worried about it sitting behind a computer every day? But having been through it now, did it meet your expectations, exceed your expectations in terms of how we run the online?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely went way past my expectation. Not that I had any, I just was a student. I just wanted to learn whatever was being taught. And I'm a pretty open-minded person. But I've also been kind of working from home for years. That's kind of even before COVID. And so I've been used to monitors and computers. I've done everything from home for literally years. And so to me, it wasn't anything new. And I'll just never forget. I remember I paid for the program, and I didn't have a worry for some reason. I know that I've listened to some people. Everybody has a worry about getting into a business, and I just wasn't worried. I had so much confidence, and actually I had relief in a way. I'll never forget when I was, it was early for us. I think it was 6 a.m. because I'm out here in Utah, 2-hour difference in time zone. Maybe it was early. I can't remember now. But when you walked into the room and I saw the students in there, I was like, oh man, this is nice. Like I just had this like relief of like, okay, I'm just going to listen and I'm just going to take as many notes as I possibly can. I don't really know what's going on, but it felt so good. Like it was just like, it gave me a calm, and I just was like, this is what I need to do. I'm just going to listen to my teacher, and that's what I did. And so it was a really enjoyable experience. I felt like I was in there. I
Mhm.
remember you were answering my questions. I think I was probably the only one that was asking most of the questions virtually, and you were answering all my questions. And if you weren't looking, somebody else pointed out, and it was just really nice. So it was a fantastic experience, and I definitely recommend it.
Good, 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 good. No, I'm glad we could facilitate that for you. Yeah, online is a little, I can imagine from your perspective is a little different, but we try to do our best with the cameras and TVs, and you can kind of see us, as we walk around the room.
Mhm,
So that's good. After training, right?
mhm.
So after training ended, what was going through your head?
Yeah, so I was still working for a job. I was working at a company called Empower Retirement. So I switched from Edward Jones to working with high net worth individuals managing 401ks, IRAs. And I still had a job, and I it wasn't really. So my boss, before I went to the training, said, "Hey," and I was already exiting in my mind. I was already leaving. I'm an entrepreneur. I can't work at a corporate job. That's not me. And my boss told me, with the industry and everything going on with the market, he says, "Hey, but for the next 6 months, don't plan on making commission." He said that before the training, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not a salary man, so I have unlimited income potential, and so thank you for telling me that. I have something awesome coming up." I didn't tell him that. I saved up PTO, and I took a whole week off to do this training, literally.
Mhm.
And the moment that class ended, I went back to my job, and that week at my job was horrible. Not because of the job, but where I was at, where I was like, I am wasting my time. I am wasting my time
Wow,
here.
that's like an interesting perspective. So you've learned this model, the power behind the model, and then you go back to your daily job and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, literally. And I was looking at my team communications channels, and I was just, I was taking phone calls, and literally, and it's such an easy job for me.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, and I was, answering phone calls, and I remember looking at my screen, and I was looking at all the stuff. I have two monitors. I was looking at your trainings and everything, and I was working, and I was like, and I told my wife, we're like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this part-time at night. Um, during the weekends." And we're like, "Okay, it's gonna be tough for our family, but we'll make it work." And my wife's like, "Don't quit though. Like, we need that income." Uh and my wife knows me, in my personality. If I have to do something, I have to do it.
Got to do it.
I have to do it. I'm not a half-asser. I have to do it.
Mhm.
And so I remember I wasn't saying anything in the chats. I couldn't. It was like I couldn't talk to my team. And
'Cause
my boss,
your heart already left.
my heart left. I
Yeah.
broke up already. I already broke up, and I just had to figure out how to do it. And so I talked to my wife, and my wife is so awesome. She goes, "So when are you gonna quit?" Before I even said anything, she goes, "When are you gonna quit?" I was like, probably Friday." She's
Yeah.
like, "You're gonna give it a week." And she goes, "Do you think you could do this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Absolutely, absolutely, I could do this." And so I messaged my boss, and I was like, "We need to talk." And he goes, "Oh no." And I was one of the top performers, by the way. So I was one of the top performers, and I did a lot of trainings for the company, a lot of the salespeople, and so I quit. I just like, I gotta go, man. I can't do this
Love that.
anymore.
I
So,
love
so I just quit. I literally just quit, and I burned the ships right there and then. Have absolute faith that this is gonna work. And I knew that it's go time no matter what happens. I know that I can look back, and I know that I did my best. And I just had absolute, yeah, I just
it.
had to do it, man.
You know what? I love that story. That is I appreciate you, disclosing and sharing that with
Yeah,
me.
of course.
I mean, it's like being in a relationship that, you don't love the person anymore, and it's
Yeah,
at that point your heart's not there and you just gotta, you gotta move on, and it sounds like you did that. I love that. That's a great story.
yeah. Thank you.
Um, so, all right, so that's great. I mean, you went through training, you were
Mhm.
like, wow, and you fell out of love with what you were doing and you had to cut ties, which you did.
But
Uh,
then,
Talk to me about, that first, I mean, you went in 2022. Talk to me about the the year of 2022. I mean, fair to say,
Yeah.
mid-year. So that first 6 months coming out of training, when you woke up that one day after you quit and you're like, shit, all right, I
Yep.
that paycheck's not there anymore.
Yep.
Now I got to start grinding. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was scary. I don't think I don't think most people can do that. Honestly,
Most
most
people
people
can't.
can't.
Most people can't.
They can't. And I'm not gonna lie, when that last paycheck came in, because I just got paid and then I got paid for another 2 weeks that they just cut me
Yeah.
out and said, here's another paycheck. When that last one came in, my wife's like, hey, just so you know,
Like Honky Kong.
it's on. And I was like, I got this. I don't know what it is. I got this. I was like, I just have this absolute faith that this is gonna work, and I know it's gonna be hard. And it was hard. It still is hard. It hasn't really. I've been doing this for 9 months now. It's still hard.
Mhm.
It's just in a different way. But so the first 2 months, so I kind of took a step back and I was like, I learned a lot of information. I made a lot of phone calls to your team and I was like, hey, let's do this, explain this a little further, call the lenders, schedule my meetings with them, and just so I can fully understand. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I know I was kind of a generalist at that point, with different lending products. But this was my goal. I really want to get out there in the field. I said, you know what? I noticed that a lot of brokers in this industry just want to throw money on ads and just hopefully the money comes in. And that's like, to me, that's the easy way out. And I was like, I don't know, man, I need to get out there and just literally talk to people. And I have a feeling that it's going to work. And so what I did at the first 2 months, literally, I just went to every single networking group that I can possibly find. I went online. I actually got a lot of coaching from one of your students, Keena Jackson. I called her. She gave me a lot of coaching. She was incredible.
Great woman. Yep.
Yeah, incredible. So I talked to her. She gave me some tips, and I'll be forever thankful for her training. And obviously, she doesn't get paid for this kind of stuff. She just did it out of her own heart. And so I went to every networking group, and when I went to real estate. I went to literally anything that was available. I went. And I was out there all day. I literally I didn't eat. I went to the hospital at one point because I forgot to drink water for 2 days. I'm not kidding. I forgot to drink water because I was out there so much. I was so dehydrated. I almost passed out. My wife's like, are you okay? I was like, I don't know what's wrong. She goes, go to the hospital. And I was dehydrated. So they put me on an IV.
You know what that is? That's what I referred to in class. If you remember, right? When we talk about our expectations of our students, right? Like, what do you have to do to get this done? Which is not talked about in our contracts, meaning like, the grit, the grind, the determination. That's your primal instinct taking over, right? Because you didn't have a paycheck coming, you got a family to support, and you're just like you forego anything, like basically you're so focused that you let necessities go that you need, like water, right? Because you're so focused on the task and you have so much pressure. You're not even hungry. You're not even thirsty. You don't even realize it, right? And that's what I call your primal instinct, your survival mode, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You're not thinking about water. So I love that you shared that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's kind of become a funny thing with my wife. She goes, hey, did you take water with you? Because even to this day, I still forget to drink water. And it's the weirdest thing that I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's so unhealthy, but that's why I have water with me all the time where you can see me drinking. But the first couple of months, what I did, going to these networking events, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, am I going to do real estate? Am I going to do equipment? Am I going to do what am I going to do? And so I was like, you know what, that's too much pressure. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to help people. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to become a super networker. That's going to be my thing. I'm just going to be a super network. So when I went to these people, it's like, tell me about you. Let's talk about you. And I'm like, let's exchange information, emails. I got like a little business card. I got a business card from you guys too. And I was like, hey, let's see what I can do to help you out. And that's what I did is I just collected emails, and I know that I can buy lists. I know that I can, get email from a magazine. It's cheating, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to create a personal relationship with every single person that I met. And anytime I collected an email, I would literally email them at like 11 o'clock at night or like 1 a.m. Be like, hey, It was good talking to you with your kid and your sports. I look forward to connecting with you. I have some people I think I should connect you with. And I did that for the first 2 months, just collected emails. I said, okay, minimum 20 emails a week. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it was 20 intentional emails, actual conversations that I had with people. And I did that for the first couple months. And really, I started seeing traction really by month fifth of a fifth month, and month six is when I started seeing some traction. So it was hard. And I got a ton of applications coming in, but I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't, I was messing up. I wasn't gathering the paperwork. I was calling SBA lenders, and I felt like I was annoying everybody, and I was just learning. But you said something that was really important, that everything's a curve, right? Everything's a curve, and I really started feeling this ability for me to be a professional from the very beginning. But now, I mean, I can uphold conversations that I when I first got started, no way.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable, but now I can walk into any room with, doesn't matter how big of a company you are. I just talked to a company last night, multi-million dollar company. You know what he said to me? He goes, I talked to this online commercial broker, I talked to my local bank, I talked to all this, and he goes, and he was like kind of being a hard ass for a second, but in a very loving way. And I'm like, I know where this is gonna go. And he goes, this is last night, literally. He goes, why should I work with you and not the online commercial broker and my local bank? And I said, well, first of all, you already answered that question. I don't really need to answer that for you. I said, look, we're having this conversation here because you're obviously needing some help. You were sold some high products that probably weren't for you, and you returned it.
Right.
And since we've had this conversation, my goal from the very beginning has been to help you long-term, and to make sure I have an exit strategy for you and all the products that we work with. But the very long term is to help you how you're going to grow your company. Have you had that conversation with a single broker or lender at this point, or have they all been pushing their products that they have? And he goes, yeah, you're right. Okay, can you send me everything that you need? And we're working on, I think, like a $500,000 line of credit is what we're trying to go for. And so, I mean, that's something that if he would have said that the very first day I started, I would have crushed. I would have been like, oh no.
No, you were confident. I mean, that comes with this business, like you talked about, and we talk about a curve, right? You get to that point where things start clicking and you're not making as many mistakes. Make sure you drink water.
I have 2 jars here, man.
And and things just get easier as it goes along. So you're closing deals.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about maybe a few just quick highlights, some of the stuff you're doing?
Yeah. No, I'm closing deals all the time. In fact, right now, I think I have like 3 to send to you guys actually right now that I got last night. And I think they're like probably 200,000, 250,000 of working capital combined that we're looking at. And then I'm working on closing another one today. And this one kind of stood out to me. So in my networking, I've kind of built a reputation as the grassroots guy in my community, and people know me. And I've actually created communities on my own. I have clubs that I've created now. And I have other Facebook groups that have hundreds of people that are in my clubs now. Wow. And so I've created a brand for myself now locally. And I had this one client that reached out to me like 3 months ago. His credit wasn't that great. And, I've been working with him, and now his credit is good. And he just called me a couple nights ago, and he goes, hey, can you help me get some working capital? I just got this like massive contract, and can you get me anything? I said, I'll see what I can do. And I sent it over to you guys. Obviously I can send it to anyone, but I sent it to you guys, and we got him like a 30K approval or a line of credit, and like 9K in working in merchant cash advance for him. And he's excited. He's like, I'm signing contracts today. And so that's a really one that's special, because he went out of his way to befriend me. He went out there and said, I want to be friends with you. And so he joined like my networking groups that I'm part of, and like I see him every week now. And so like it makes me happy when I close a loan and it is doing good for the business owner. And that's probably the one that I would say like literally that made me feel good, that when that came in, and he just was like, Evan, I'm so thankful for you. And, I love it. And another one that I just closed a few weeks ago, I did like a smaller equipment line I did like equipment. It was like $4,000 in equipment for a new trailer for a startup. And I got him 100,000 in unsecured lines of credit too. And he was so excited. And I sent him a basket of apples. It's a basket of apples, just caramel apples and little candy apples, and fresh. And it was a local girl, and my local girl went and delivered it to her yesterday. And he sent me a text and he goes, "You're my go-to guy forever. You're my go-to guy forever." And that makes me feel good.
Doesn't it?
It makes me feel
Yeah.
so good that I am providing a service to these clients. And yes, I can just like close the deal and move on. But I see these people. I made an effort to say, I am here in this community where your bank is not. I don't say that directly, but
Right.
your bank's done at 5 o'clock and on a Friday and on a federal holiday, they're done. They don't care.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna get a check. But me, my hand is on the pulse of this community, and people know that. And it is just, man, I could talk about the deals that I've closed all day, but man, like those are the most recent ones that I've done, and it just feels so good to help these people.
Isn't it rewarding? Yeah, I always tell people. I mean, there's no better feeling than knowing that you're helping somebody and helping them achieve their goals. You know, the money's great, right? That's
Yeah.
Get it, but you know that you're helping somebody is just priceless. At least to me.
Yeah, no, it's at the very beginning. I mean, it's so nice. I mean, we all do it. We look at the commissions that we can make from this, but it's almost like I don't really care about that anymore, because the money, it's like I know where I'm going to be.
Mhm.
I know where I'm going to be, and I know that I'm going to have a massive company with multiple employees and virtual assistants. Like I already know I'm going to be there. And so I do manifest, man. I do every single day. I say three things. I say manifest is huge. The first thing I say every single day, I say, I'm going to make X amount of dollars this year. I'm going to. It's not I want, I'm going to. Number
Right.
two, I'm going to attract the right partners that will help me get that goal. And
Mhm.
number three, I'm going to attract the right customers that will help me get that goal. And so I've been saying that, and some of the craziest, coolest things are happening right now.
Happens, right? I'm going to tell you,
It's
I'm a big believer. I don't get into I don't get into too much of the you know, uh I don't get into too much of the unknown spiritual stuff, but the one thing that I absolutely attest to, because I've been doing it all my life, is manifestation.
yeah,
100%.
it works.
Everything in my life, all the way down to just simple things, but everything in my life that I've accumulated or goals that I've met, I've done through manifestation. 100%. I'm like,
Yeah,
you don't have to.
it
That is,
it works, man.
does.
I'm really a spiritual person either. Like I believe in God, but
Sure.
I'm not like a religion per se.
Right.
But I do believe in manifestation, and like it's like something that I want so bad, but like I can't just want it. Like, and it's the same reason why when I saw this business, I was like, that's gonna be it. It's gonna help me.
Right.
I don't really know where I'm gonna go with this, but like I have to do this. My soul is saying, Evan, go freaking do this.
Mhm.
And I am.
That's awesome. What, you know, describe the feeling. Describe the feeling when you closed your first deal. Not about the deal itself, but like when you actually looked in your bank account and you had a commission. Like was that like a
It I will tell you exactly what happened.
yeah.
When that money hit the account, which was several $1,000s, I closed a 200K plus equipment deal. Um, I grinded hard to get to this point, and I knew that it was there, and I had contracts, term sheets, I had everything going. I know that it's happening, and I've even had deals pull out. But when the money hit the account, because here's the thing, until the money is in your account, you haven't closed a deal. I don't care if you have a term sheet. I don't care if your customer is going to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do this. When the money is in your account, that's when you close the deal.
Correct.
And when the moment that I remember, I was in my kitchen, and I was with my wife. I have a little condo. I work out of my office here in my condo, and the money hit the account. My wife's like, hey, she's just clapping for me, like, you did it, you did it, you did it. And I was like, I looked at her, I said, that's proof of concept right there. I can do that again.
Yep.
That's a business right there. Is proof of concept, and I can do this thousands of times moving forward.
Right.
So I just proved to myself that this works, and it was a nice commission, and I can do this over again. And so that was like and I actually really needed that win, because, and I was telling my wife, is like, I'm having all these wins because you're going to go crazy in this industry starting out if you don't have some form of a win, which is why I focused on getting 20 emails a week, where that was a win. I focused on going to X amount of meetings.
Right.
That's a win. When money's not coming in, you have to design this in a way, because this is a business. You have to design wins until you get there. But I was getting to the point where I was like, I wasn't doubting myself, but I was like, man, I really need a money win. Like, I really want to see the money win. Like, I really need that. And I got it. And it just was like, oh man, it felt so good. It was like, I'm so grateful. And I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, my wife, my friends, my community. Like, thank you. And I'm going to work even harder now. And so, like, it was like, I'm already working 80 hours. I'm not kidding. I work 80 hours a week, and I have not stopped.
Sure.
Still to this day, I still work 80 hours. I'm like, I'm going to work harder. My wife's like, you can't. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to work harder and smarter. And so,
It sounds like you really have a really good support system there too, in terms of your wife. And you've heard me say that in class, if you remember, like, you got to have, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard in your family, they need to support you. And I think, it sounds like you have a great support system.
I do. And
understand,
yeah, and she understands, and it is hard though. So as supportive, and we're going to be real here, real talk, like, it is, it's infinite support, but it is hard on my family. I have a toddler. I have almost a 2-year-old. I have a little girl due literally in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and my wife is very sick and pregnant. Like, this is stuff that we're dealing with personally, but we all kind of are on the same page. Like, we are going to be in a much better place after all this is through.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be doing well as a family, and like, we all get it. And it's kind of like the sacrifices that we have to make as parents, and the sacrifices that we have to make as to ourselves, and so absolutely, man, it's hard, but I still wake up and I still am invigorated by my business.
I just got to keep saying, I love your story. I mean, I love your story, learning about it right now. Right.
Thanks.
I mean, it doesn't get any more raw than your story, in terms of, you're an immigrant. We're all immigrants at some, right. I mean, if you look back, but you're a fresh immigrant, if you will. You quit your job after you came through training, right? You have children on the way, and you're dealing with, all those dynamics, and that's just going to make you stronger. I mean, it's not like, you're a single dude, right? You got some fallback, you have another job, you're working this part-time, it's all hands on deck. And even more so, you got a family to feed, you got kids to feed, you got, it's just, I love it. I love
Thanks,
it.
man.
It's
Thank you.
It is and I love that our viewers hear this, because, you're dealing with it all. The stakes couldn't be higher, right?
Yeah, it's
higher, but
I feel it, man.
You're working. And instead of sitting there and like crawling up in a ball and worrying and complaining, you're like, hands on deck, 80 hours a week. We're going to make this work.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. And I've had those. It's so interesting that you say that, because like, there's been times where like I had in November, I had 9 SBA loans fall through. 9, all of them. And it wasn't the lender. It wasn't me. It was the attorneys. The attorneys killed the deal. They just couldn't agree on the acquisitions.
Yep.
And 9 fell through in a matter of like 2 weeks. And I remember thinking, I bet somebody would quit at this point. I bet probably somebody already has quit. They're like, you know what? This business sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have felt sorry for myself, man.
A lot of people have. I mean, I'm just telling you, I've been in this business now for the training business, 13 years. And there's been a lot of grads who, similar scenarios that have quit. I'd say a lot, but there's been definitely grads that have quit that probably are, were at a similar point than when you were, but.
Yeah. And I remember having that feeling, Kris. I did have that feeling. I'm like, man, that paycheck really is sounding really nice right now. Maybe I could just go back to State Farm, or I can, and I was like, no. And I was like, it was like a second. I was like, screw this. I was like, no, that's a dumb thought. That's a weakness thought, a human thought, and it's okay. And I said, no, I'm going to keep going. And I just, every single day, there's moments that I get beat up by things that happen. And I'm like, it's like I'm not, my body and my mind is not letting me take that. I'm like, I need to win. I have a vision of this commercial building that I'm going to buy, that I'm going to have 40 employees in there, and I'm going to have other companies there renting out, leasing out my building that I own. And I'm going to set up a branch here in Utah, Florida, in Texas, and do the same thing. And that's going to be Alta Commercial Capital and eventually become a lender. And that's in my mind. Manifesting. And
Manifest, brother.
I can't get, if I'm doing that, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm really doing myself a disservice. And there's a lot of people out there that, you know, it's okay to feel it, but man, like your dream has to be bigger. And like, I just got to do this, man. It's like
that primal drive has to take over in order to get through that. In my experience, right? I've had many of those moments in my career, and you gotta, that drive just needs to take over and block out that stuff, right?
Yeah.
You have two ways to deal with it. You either succumb to it or you overtake it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You're right.
Only two options when it comes to that. So, you know, the work's not done, but it sounds like you're it's never done, but it sounds like you're closing deals. You're finally starting to, you know, see the light, as we said. And that's awesome. I mean, it's I wish you much success. I mean, you're already success in your own right, but you know, it sounds like you're launching a really good launch. It took a little bit to get there, as it always is, but you're doing it. Tell me about what's the one thing that comes to mind that you don't like about this business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, I figured out in the last 2 months my strength. I mean, I know that I'm a hard worker. That's nobody can challenge me on my work ethic. But something that I realized that I'm really good at is I'm really good at shaking hands, belly to belly, being with the pulse in the community. And I created a Facebook group in December where it's a business foodie group. It's called Silicone Stomachs. It's kind of a play on words to Silicone Slope, and like kind of like all those tech companies out there. And I have close to 100 business owners that would join. Some of them are my clients, and we would go out there and get lunch once a month. It's my own little group that I created, and it's amazing. I have another group that I created that's for business owners. There's about 130 people in there now, 100 business owners, and I educate them on SBA loans and equipment and the good, the bad. And these are just like quick little 90-second, like, and then I make little just education. And so I'm going to answer your question, what I don't like, because I found what I'm really good at.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really good at, is being out there and sharing, and people like, man, like,
yeah.
So what that means is what I don't like to do is processing. Oh my gosh. And that slows me down. I do not like, which I'm hiring a VA right now to help me with processing, and it's just so, it's not fun. It slows me down, where I had this solar company reached out to me the other day, and I'm helping them get to restructure $3 million worth of their debts. And it's been hard. They sent me so much paperwork, and it took me like 4 hours to go through tax returns, 6 different bank accounts, get everything perfect. Because here's the thing. When I send something to a lender, I have to be at the top of the packet. When I called a lender, I said, when you see my file come in, you know it's a good one. I'm not going to send you some BS and some you have to figure out how to organize this.
Right.
No, that's what I was taught too. So I go through and make sure it's dated perfectly. It's, exactly with the Dropbox, everything is perfectly organized. That stuff sucks to me, man. It's like, it's important, but oh man, I'd rather make a video. I'd rather make a phone call and take an owner to lunch. And so like that is, I'd say the one part of the industry I don't like.
And you know what? I mean, and my advice to you with that is, you don't like it. It does suck. So, but it's important. So you got to delegate, which sounds like you're starting to do that. Meaning you got to bring somebody in who does like doing that.
Right.
So you could free up your time doing what you do best, which you already told us what you do best,
Yeah, exactly.
That task off the table for you. All right. Well, it sounds so, and just to kind of recap, because our viewers always ask, you're out there, what's kind of your specialty, your concentration? Business loans, lines of credit? Is that kind of equipment loans? Is that kind of where you?
Yeah. So at the very beginning, I really thought I was going to get into real estate, like fix and flips, multifamily land. And I found out quickly that just wasn't my cup of tea. It's not something that I really enjoyed. And it was really hard for my mind to kind of wrap around how it worked. And I went through your training, and it was like, that's like the one part of the industry that like I just couldn't grasp. And I was like, at some point I will. So I was like, I'm not going to spend my energy on this, where I'm going to just put that on the back burner. And I realized that I really like equipment. I enjoy equipment financing. I think it's fun. I love doing small ticket, medium, large, whatever the challenge is. I actually enjoyed talking to contractors who need working capital, which I'm doing a lot. I have a lot of contractors right now needing capital,
Sure.
and I've been doing a lot of those lately, and but I do SBA loans as well, but not really on the acquisition side anymore. I'm
Mhm.
just doing it more on the debt service. I like it's restructuring their debts. They're heavily leveraged companies. I like restructuring those debts, and that's been enjoyable. So those are pretty much the three products that I stick to: is equipment and working capital, which, as you know, includes MCAs, lines of credit, term
Yeah.
loans, and all that for injection to the business, but then SBA loans on the debt service. And those are the three. And now I'm getting a lot more real estate coming in, and I'm still not going to say I do that, but I'm going to handle it
Handle it as it comes in.
as
Yeah.
it comes in. But those are the three, and I'm okay with that, and I really enjoy it. It's like I actually wake up, I'm like, yeah, I just did some working capital. This is fun,
Yeah.
and yeah, those are the three that I pretty much stick with.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Now comes the kind of the part here where we're going to learn a little bit about you a little bit.
Sure,
Just it could be some good things, bad things, quirky things, but
sure.
um, what's one thing that normally someone would be shocked to learn that something you're into, or that they couldn't tell just by meeting you the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Talents, things you're into. It could be anything.
yeah. Oh man. So the things that I'm into, I used to love sports, like go to basketball games, but now I literally just we haven't watched like any sports in like 4 years. And so like I don't even know the players of any team. I don't even know what's happening. It's just like something I stopped. So like what I really enjoy, I don't know, I really enjoy podcasts, man. I really enjoy
Yeah.
listening to podcasts. Like it's just
All
like
right.
I know it's not, it's just something that I really enjoy.
Okay.
And I'm I wish I could say that I play video games, but I used to when I was younger, and now I get on maybe 15 minutes every once a month, and I
Yeah.
enjoy that. But honestly, I'm just a family man. I really am a family man. I love just being with my wife, my kid, and as extroverted as I am also very introverted. I'm selective with my time and my energy, and who I spend time with. And I do get a lot of anxiety, I would say, when I spend. So I've read this somewhere. I can't remember where I saw this quote or where I read this, but it said every person has a specific way that they are with other people, and it's the 5-5-5-5 rule with people. You're either a 5-minute friend, a 5-hour friend, a 5-day friend, a 5-week friend. And so the theory behind that is like, where are you in your life right now? And the people that you want to attract in your life are the people that you would spend like 5 days with. So, or 5 weeks with. Like those are the top people,
Quality. Quality.
quality people. So
Yeah.
the 5-minute friend, those are like the people you don't want in your life. The
Right.
5-hour friend, like, yeah, like, but okay, I'm over it.
Sure.
So, and the reason why I'm sharing that is right now I see that, and I'm very selective of who I spend my time with. And I have clients all the time like, let's go hang out. I'm like, yes. And I have other friends in the community that want to hang out, but I'm like, right now, my energy, I'm a 5-minute friend for everybody else right now. And it's not, I can't be more than that in my life with what I
Understand.
have going on. And but I am a quality of a 5-hour, 5-day, 5-week, but I can only give 5 minutes to people. And so because of that, because I know that about myself, I just stay home, man. I'm a family man. I'd rather just make some food or hang out and go get dinner, and then literally just hold my son and be with my wife,
Yeah.
and like that, enjoying being a parent. Like
Awesome.
that's it.
That is
So
awesome. Yeah.
And then something quirky, I guess here, we're gonna throw a quirk. I'm actually allergic to the cold. Like I am. Like I'm literally
Well, you're from
it,
South America. Come on.
I am from South. Actually, maybe that's what it is.
You're
I'm
not, you're
allergic.
not, yeah, you're
I'm
not,
not built for it.
your
Yeah,
genetic makeup is not for the cold, brother.
yeah. And so I am allergic to the cold, even though I live in Utah where it snows and literally snows every day for the last few weeks. And so like I can be in the cold, but after like 45 minutes, like I break out in hives. Like that's a weird. Like I literally am allergic. Or if I eat ice cream, like my throat kind of gets itchy because I'm like, oh, like in Hitch when he
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
eats that
yeah,
food, he gets all like,
yeah.
that's how I am with ice cream, and so I am allergic to the cold.
That is, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever
Yes.
when they say they're allergic to the cold.
Yeah.
But and that's, at least you're honest about how you are, right? In terms of saying how you're that 5-minute friend to other people, you're cognizant of it, which is good, right? It's not like you don't know it and you already know what the expectations are, you know. What the last kind of intruding or intrusive question here is, if you
Sure.
could spend time with anybody, living or not living, maybe 2 hours, sit down, who would it be?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And so I know this person is very like, people love him or hate him. And honestly, if you just put the media down and just actually listen to your gut and listen to like do your own research, you can actually learn a lot about people in history. I want to meet Elon Musk, somebody that I actually really would love to sit down with and just kind of even be a fly on the wall.
Mm,
Even at that point, because something attracts me about Elon Musk is about, so I'm 34, coming up on 35. And when I was about 18, 19 years old, I read his Mars project. And this is before anybody knew who Elon Musk was. Nobody knew who that was. Like, who? I read his Mars project, and it was like this little white paper that he had. And I just thought it was so cool.
mhm.
I was like, we need to, and I'm a pretty big optimistic futurist type of personality. And so I definitely love the idea of the future and what we can do to help each other out and grow us as a society. And I remember reading that and I was like, that is so cool. I wonder if this guy is going to go big. I actually didn't know he was a billionaire at the time.
Mhm.
But I was like, this is going to be cool if we can get to that point. We can send rockets to Mars and we can have like interplanetary travel, kind of science fiction-y. I kind of like that. And then now I observe Elon Musk and what he's doing with his acquisition and the stuff that he's building and I saw, and I find it fascinating. And then AI, is changing the world.
It
And I'm
is.
obsessed with AI. I love it. I've been using AI for years, even before most, because I work from home. I've always tried to create efficiencies, and I use AI for my groups. I use AI for communication. I used AI to respond to an angry customer. So I didn't have to, because if I did, I would have probably ruined something. And so I'd like to sit down with Elon and be like, hey, let's talk about AI in the future. And you remember that white paper you did? I want to talk about
Sure.
that. Like that
Sure.
would be awesome. Just learn and see what he really thinks. No news, no, just if we were just having a couple beers together, like that's what I'd like to do. And just like this, just like we're having a conversation, I would really enjoy that.
Good, 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 good. Well, we come to this part of the interview where feel free to ask me a few questions. Could be anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be about work. It could be anything.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, good.
I was looking forward to this part of the show because I know I've listened to every episode and all the crazy questions that you've been asked, the good, the weird ones, and I want to be strategic of how I ask my questions with your time, because you are a mentor and you have a lot of knowledge, and so I have a few questions I wanted to ask you. So I have this idea where I want to become a lender at some point, and I don't know if it's going to be working capital equipment. There's some graduates that become a lender, but I don't. How does that even work? How does somebody? So I guess it's a multi question. How do you know when you're ready to become a lender, and how do you even become a lender? That part I still don't know.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast just on this, but I'll try to give you a, you know,
A tweet, a version.
answer. I mean, I think it comes down to your level of expertise and what you're doing starting out as a broker first. So let's say if you wanted to become a working capital or merchant cash advance lender, let's just pick a product. You have to be proficient at the industry, how it works. And I think what, you know, a good plan would be to perfect that on a broker level first, right? And then, it's knowledge. Knowledge is number one, gain expertise. Number two is once you have that knowledge and expertise and you've done it, you've brokered, a large amount of deals or a good amount of deals, then it becomes okay. Um, Now I have to come up with a plan of if I want to be a lender, well, how am I going to do things differently?
Mm.
Right. Because how to be successful, right? How am I going to do things differently? Is it going to be a take on customer service? Is it going to be the product itself? How's the product going to be offered? At what cost? What structure? Once you come up with that plan, then it's like, all right, I need money. So where am I going to go get the money now to lend out? Right. Um, and I mean, you have family money, private investors, hedge funds, banks. If you look at places and your first go around, the reason it's so important to perfect that first step of um, you know getting a bunch of deals underneath your belt and what you're doing and a track record is because you're
Mm.
gonna have to present that to whomever you're asking to borrow money
Mm.
from to lend it out, right? So you're gonna have to say, look, I brokered 200 deals. Here's the performance of those deals. Here's how many went bad.
Mm.
What's your loss ratio? And once you convey that, then it's like, look, I want to take the next step. And you can go to outlets that I just mentioned and kind of try to prove yourself, and have them take a chance on you actually lending the money, right? And then once you have the money secured, it's then you got to come up with a operation. In other words, like
Mm.
now you got to bring people onto a team that like underwriters and all that other good stuff. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, you got to realize you're messing around with somebody, not messing, but you're playing around with somebody else's
Yeah.
capital, right?
Risk analysis is important.
Risk analysis, and you got to be careful on what you do and don't do because as a broker, right? If a deal goes bad and 7 months later, who cares?
Mm.
But now as you're a lender, you got to live with it. So that's kind of a long-winded answer.
No, I love it. That's exactly it made sense. That was a really good explanation. Thank you so much. I did have another question for you. So I'm super optimistic about this industry, man. I love this industry and I'm so excited to see where I'm going to go.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of areas that I still am unfamiliar with. And my company is growing super quickly right now. And I'm always evolving. But with your experience and what you see in this industry, like where is an underrated part or a missed opportunity in this industry that either someone that's newer in the industry or someone that's seasoned that could be an opportunity that we're not really looking into? So maybe a lending product or particular industry. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I think there's not just one. I think that it depends on when and when you ask me that question. I mean, I think there's always opportunities that come and go, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's a question of taking advantage of it. I mean, I think right now and where we're at, we have a war. We have Ukraine going on.
Yeah.
Um, we have an economy that's kind of beaten up and bruised. It's not Armageddon yet, but and it's not where 2008 was at, but we do have an economy that's coming out of some rumblings with inflation. Uh,
Hmm.
a lot of it was due to COVID and stimulus and all that stuff. But um, I think whether you're seasoned or not is to recognize the sandbox you're playing in right now, and the sandbox you're playing in is banks historically have tightened up, right? It's not as loose as it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, pre-pandemic. And so right now you have banks that are cautious, banks that are tightening up. And I think because of that, you're going to get a lot of, we already see it, borrowers that are good quality borrowers, right?
Mm.
That have good projects, but they're, all they know is the bank. And when the bank is not an option, where do you go? So I think it's a great time to be in this business because you could, you're the opportunity is there's a lot of good projects and borrowers out there. Just because the economy is the way it is doesn't mean there's lack of need, right? In
Mm.
fact, it's more need.
Yeah.
And lenders recognize that. And I think it's just a question of doing what you're doing, networking yourself, presenting yourself as you are, which I think you're doing a great job of doing so, and getting and just letting people know who you are, because right now, even with rates climbing, just because rates are where they're at does not mean people don't need money, right? Um, but I think it's just recognizing where you are in time, right? And where you are is a great a great chance to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
totally.
it's more of a higher level answer than a specific opportunity. I think it's a higher level answer um, to know where you are. And I can tell you, one of the things that comes to mind is a lot of the big banks. And I mean, I just saw an article yesterday with Blackstone, the largest hedge fund / private equity firm out there. Blackstone, all these firms it's a run on redemption, meaning their investors are pulling out, right? So they're saying, look, we want our millions back, right? Because we're, afraid of what happens. They're making a run on the money, so to speak, and they're having to pay out investors, which means they're conservative, right? It causes everybody to get very, very conservative, and where there's, say, turmoil, but where there's things like that goes on, there's opportunities
Opportunity. Yep.
for a person working in the capacity that you're working.
And I agree with that. I think everything you're saying is true. And that's exactly, I've had that conversation a lot the last 6 weeks specifically. A lot of contractors, construction companies are coming to me, messaging me on Facebook, hey, can you help me? My local bank is saying no. What can you do? And it's a breath of fresh air for them that they have an alternative option they didn't know of. And they said, I wish we talked to you years ago, And so I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely. There's definitely an opportunity, which is why I'm very optimistic about this year. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year. I'm more optimistic this year than I was last year, even though I was. I just think it's a great opportunity. So yeah. All right.
The good old days are still yet to come, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I've been
Positive.
noticing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it a good one? Right.
That is a good one. That is a good
Yeah.
one. I like the vibe of that. I was admiring that.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I'll share a quick little story about that. So how we got that sign. When I was a financial advisor, I was planning on moving to Texas around like the Dallas Fort Worth, maybe between Waco and Dallas Fort Worth, kind of building a practice out there. And I try to stay positive in a lot of aspects of my life. And I was really down, really, really down because I just failed my Series 7. And I was like, I just closed my business. I literally failed this license. Now, like, what if I don't pass the next time, or what if they let me go? Because I need to pass in order to keep my job. And it was just messing with my head. So my wife's like, why don't we just go to Texas and just see? And so we flew out for a weekend. Literally, this is before we had kids, and we went to Waco. There's a show called, like, I think it's like the Joanna Gaines show. I don't know what it's called, but my wife loves it. And so we went to her little ranch, and they had this food truck there. And one of the coolest things I've ever seen was a community that was in peace. And if you can turn off your phone, turn off everything and just watch people, you'll gain this love for them. So we were at this little ranch, and there was kids and there's families, and it was like about 200-300 people there just playing. Like, people were just in a community. And I just sat there like depressed, right? I'm like, people don't know that I'm having a hard time. And my wife brings me this sweet tea, and I look over to my right. She points at the sign, and she goes, look at that sign. It says, the good old days are still to come. We were meant to be here. And I looked at that sign, and I was like, and I bawled. I bawled, and I was like, you're right. Like that, the good old days are still to come. And it just, like, I worked so hard. I think I clocked in 100 hours for the last couple of weeks of study for this exam, 100 hours a week. Wow. I was literally sleeping like 2-3 hours, and I failed. So I saw that sign, and it just made me feel so good. And I was like, you're right. So then what happened is we came home months later. I passed all my exams, and so everything was good. A friend went to that same place, someone that on Facebook she knew, that said, hey, we saw this sign in Waco, and we're going to build 100 of these, and we're never going to build them again. Who wants one? My wife bought it. Wow. And so that's the same exact sign that you saw in Waco, Texas. And we mounted it in my office because it motivates me, because it's true. We could be making excuses for ourselves, but every single day is a new day, and you have the opportunity to go out there and kick ass and make things happen and make a name for yourself. And so the good old days are still to come. And that's absolutely true. And that's why that sign's there.
I love your energy. I do. I love your energy. And you know, the next time a graduate complains, that we're just going to send them to you. Say, talk. You know, I do. I love your energy. I wish more would have it, you know, to be honest with you, because that's what it takes. That's what's missing, I think, with a lot of people that may be struggling or want to do better. They're missing that. They're missing, you know, the energy that comes to the table, which you can't teach. I always say you can't teach it. You either have it or you don't.
You want it. It's something that you want, and it's
you
easy to get if you want it.
Yeah, for 100%. Yeah, you gotta something needs to open up inside you to, you know, cause you to do things like that, and have that type of approach. So, all right. Well, listen, that just about wraps it up. I wish I could talk to you more, but Evan, it was such a pleasure getting to know you a little bit here. I know we didn't meet in class, but so this was, you know, kind of extra special for me. And I wish you continued success. I not even wish it. You're going to be successful just because, you know, you manifest, you have you do all the right things 100%.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Good. Maybe we'll see you at NACLB this year.
Oh, I'll be there. No, definitely.
Yeah,
we'll see each other for sure. I'll look out for you, man. You can't miss me. I'm a pretty big dude. So
yeah. All right. All right. Well, good deal. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Entrepreneurs in Finance. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I certainly did. And hopefully you took some takeaways here of what you need to do or what you should be doing if you're already in this business. So with that being said, I'll remind you again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to download our app, Android or iPhone, and to catch the latest updates and things that are happening here in videos that we're putting out. So thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you. There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. You know, people always say, Kris, how can I be a successful broker? It's 2 words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business.